Elisa, thanks very much for joining us. It would be good to get your view, especially given the focus on smart infrastructure. What are you seeing as some of the key trends there, particularly as we're going into looking at 2022?
Yeah, so the world has been in a bit of a standstill the past few years. I think we've all felt that painfully, and I think this is also kind of portrayed in how buildings are being used and the kind of the investment trends that follow from it. So everyone has been focusing on the return to the office and return to the workplace topics, and then painfully realized that maybe that didn't happen as was expected, and we have another delay. So I think those trends are transferring into 2022 that we were kind of expecting in 2021. And I think by now, the latest, all organizations are really looking into investing in digital or smart real estate and to enable this transition, but also to understand that actually connectivity, remote operations, all of that would have brought already a tremendous amount of value in the past 2 years, and hence will also do that going forward.
There's a lot of discussion around digitalisation in the market and the potential influence and impact that will have. Maybe just from your side, Elisa, given that that's your kind of focus, just tell us a little bit more about how that would actually work in principle, what we're expecting to see.
Digitalization, it's certainly a hype word. And the way I break it down usually is in different kind of layers. So I almost look at the kind of the digital ontology of a building. So we look at how can we connect all the different data sources, all the field devices, also the structural data of a building, not only the kind of the real-time sensor data or system data that we often talk about. And then how do we kind of bring that into a data lake or a platform with, analytics, intelligence, semantic data models to really kind of derive that contextual intelligence out of that data, instead of just having a data dump that is sometimes the case when you just hype over data. And then very importantly, how do you from that derive applications that actually benefit the operations that are being done inside that building? So I always say that technology is important, but technology in itself is not the main thing. It's actually the value that you derive out of it. And for that, you need then some kind of intelligent applications, analytics, actionable insights that can then produce that business impact or that well-being impact or whatever the impact is that you want to achieve within that building.
Is your sense of this, Elisa, that things are beginning to move away from, the focus on the built environment as being simply assets and more around the function or being more people-centered?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I am personally sick to death of thinking buildings just as physical structures. I want to demand more from buildings. So, buildings should be interfaces between the people and the environment, the context, the business, and they should act accordingly and kind of contribute to that success of the individuals and of the business and whatever it is within that building. So hence we really need to rethink real estate completely and not only look at the physical structure and not only about the optimization of the physical building either, but we really need to see it in the context of the city, in the context of the business, in the context of the individual expectations, experience, emotions, and all of that needs to start kind of being optimized and playing together. And that's when actually we can start talking about smart buildings and smart infrastructure.
Just looking at the cities, obviously there's a big focus there on energy and the transition to carbon neutral. What role do you think smart infrastructure plays there, particularly in the connection, I suppose, between the built environment but also the energy side?
Oh, absolutely. So first of all, buildings as they are 75% energy inefficient at the moment. So there's a lot we can do in terms of carbon neutrality, in terms of optimizing the buildings as they stand. But then not only that, we need to look at how can the buildings actually contribute to, for example, the resilience of the grid on a whole city level. And there, buildings can act as prosumers, so consumers and producers of energy, and help in stabilizing, maybe peak loads for the grid. And this is much wider than just optimizing the building, which is very important and where we have a lot of work to do, but also not to treat that as a standalone initiative, but always connect it also to the environment around and what could be done there to optimize.
Really interesting to catch up on these topics. Thanks very much for joining us, Elisa.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.